Hey guys, what's up? Excoundrel here, and yes, I have been away a long time, I know. I explain why in the start of the video today. This is about Kensei and joystick controls. I'll be doing a video on 3.3 balance changes later, probably tomorrow, but I'll talk about that at the end of the video. Okay guys, so obviously I've been away for just a little bit. I know I haven't posted a video in quite a while. I have been working on a lot of other projects. I did a month-long gig for League of Legends called the EU Masters in April. It meant that I was away from home and I only had about 5 days at home throughout April in its entirety. And it just meant that I wasn't able to create videos because the hotel internet was so bad that I couldn't A, download any assets, and B, upload a video even if I tried. So obviously I was kind of disappointed that I wasn't able to do that, but I was also feeling a bit burnt out. I'd been at it for a year, just constantly making videos, and it can be a bit wearing. I needed a little bit of time off, but I've got May just to myself. I don't have any work on apart from Vainglory, which means that I can have time to relax and go back to creating videos and go back to having fun with it as well. And I'm going to start with Kensei, and I'm also going to be looking at the joystick controls. Now, before we get into game, I do want to talk about the way that the home screen looks. I think, very briefly, Vainglory are doing the right thing. It's going in the right direction. The home screen looks frankly quite sexy. It's got the animated screen of Kensei's, probably it's going to be his skin, I assume, but that might actually just be Kensei's normal skin, I don't know. And obviously now you can get your events from the home screen, you can get your quests, and I can also unlock my free chests. So everything that you need is now right on the front of the screen. You don't need to go anywhere else to get your free stuff. They're making it very easy to collect that kind of thing without having to navigate through several different tabs. Absolutely, in terms of functionality, the right way. I think color scheme wise, I still think it's kind of darker. It's not quite that in-your-face blue that you get from Mobile Legends or from AOV. So I know, I quite like it, and it's, in my opinion, I think it's quite nice and tasteful, but obviously people will have differing opinions. That's just my opinion. I really like it. Let's talk about Kensei now. I will briefly look over his abilities, but we'll talk about them more in game. Heroic perk, it is Immovable Mind. 3 basic attacks, you get increased damage and a shield, and he also deals increased damage to people with higher health than him, and that scales off his bonus weapon power, not total weapon power, bonus weapon power. 2 things to note here: his weapon power scaling is almost identical to Blackfeather's, so he'll deal the same base damage as Blackfeather. His range is one of the highest melee ranges in the game, and I'll illustrate that range when we get into game. A is a non-scaling, lower weapon power damage AoE slash. It basically deals 55% of his weapon power damage, or is 55% of his basic attack damage, and you can activate it 3 times within 5 seconds, and it's basically like a small AoE slash that will scale up as you get better into the game. This is essentially a disengage. It gives him a small gap closer to get away from an enemy, which sets up for an empowered ability from one of his other abilities. You either empower his A, which slows his target, so every time that you use it will slow his target, and it also has an extended range on the first strike, or his ultimate, it will stun when you use it. So obviously this is something that used to set up his other abilities, and it also generates fortified health. His ultimate is basically a glorified A. That's the way I want to put it. It is essentially like his A. He slashes through enemies, dealing extra damage and his basic attack damage, and if you obviously empower that with his B, which you'll want to do every time that you use it, you're going to stun people too. A very quick overview of Kensei, so let's get into the game and start playing him. Okay, so we're going to play Kensei, and there are lots of different build paths that you can go with Kensei, but I will talk about them as we go on. I think most of the times you'll start with Book of Eulogies. He can farm minions very safely because of his extended range, and I will demonstrate his range in game. I did tell you that I would, so I will demonstrate it. I think you can go Sorrow Blade first item. I think you can go Spell Sword first item. I also think against certain matchups you can go Tension Bow first item, and against a Varia, that is what I'm going to do. This is his basic attack range. That is his max basic attack range right there. Pretty ridiculous if you ask me. Then this is his A. You can reactivate it again. You can reactivate it again 3 times. Obviously these are bots, so they're just going to be really bad, but you have 3 little mobility strikes in the early game, meaning if you're against a squishy target that has a really bad level 1, you can essentially just jump on them and punish them very, very hard early on. So this is going to make him a very good level 1 carry. And he spikes at level 2 as well, because you get the activated ability on your A, which slows the target and also gives you the extended range. So in general, he's got a really good first 2 levels, which is meaning that in laning phase, especially against squishier targets, you can look to punish them super early. And especially against these later game scaling carries like Varia and Celeste, if you match up against them, he's got a really good way of getting onto them early, meaning the laning phase doesn't have to go against his favor simply because of the range disadvantage in terms of basic attacks. So you will have to be careful playing up against a Kensei, especially if you're kind of reluctant, because look at this, I can just go onto her, she's not even going to back off. But imagine if she was, I'd be like going like that and dashing in again, but this is a bot, so he doesn't care. Let's demonstrate his B. Do that. And it's just a reset, and also it's going to empower my A, but my A was on cooldown. So Kensei in general, I think in terms of levels, you max his A and then you max his C. There's not much reason to max his B simply because it is the ability that you use to empower your other abilities. You're going to use it usually in most circumstances to set up your ultimate so that you get the stun. Maybe use it in the early game to get the slow on a carry, but realistically for the most part throughout the game, as the game goes later and later, you are simply going to be using it to try and get the stun. I will show you how it works with his A. I'm going to do that. Look at the extended range on my A. I'm going to slash in, and I don't get the extended range, obviously, on my A afterwards, but I do get the initial slow. And as you can see, his little bar, he doesn't have, he does have energy, but also below that, he's got a little bar that fills up similar to Alpha. I'm going to, nope. I can use that B to get out of turret range. And this bar, as you see here, it doesn't work against small minions, but it works against jungle monsters and it works against heroes. That bar fills up, and once you hit people 4 times after the bar gets to its full 3rd bar, that's going to give you the shield that you get from his passive. So in terms of build path, because I'm against a Varia, I want to show you the tension bow build path with Kensei. I do think that he works incredibly well with a Sorrow Blade into Breaking Point. I also think he's going to work well with a Spell Sword, and even in certain circumstances, maybe in a side lane matchup, he could do very well with a Serpent's Mask. This is the beautiful thing about Kensei. All of his abilities have no weapon power scaling, apart from his basic attack scaling. So it really depends on what kind of playstyle you want from him. He's a very adaptable weapon power carry. You can't really play him CP simply because he doesn't have any CP scalings, and the only thing that would work out, as you can see, look at that damage. I can do that, I can dash in, imagine if I had to like sort of try and not lose that trade. I could just go in, get a tension bow proc and go out. I'll show you on the next instance what I mean. But he's a very adaptable weapon power carry, so he can pretty much play anything that is suited, simply because he doesn't have those major weapon power scalings. If I'm against tanks, I'm likely going to be building high weapon power to make sure that I've got that shred ability coming from my passive. If I'm against squishies, I can very much go tension bow, I can go critical strike. The thing about Kensei is there is no specific build path that is going to be universal for him, because the way that his passive works, you want more weapon power against tankier targets because you're going to do more damage to them because of his passive. But, you know, you can dive in with tension bow and burn up squishies. Like, look at this. I'm going to dive in, hit with tension bow, dive out. Look at this. Or I could go dive in, hit with tension bow, dive out. There is so many ways just to make it very difficult for enemies to trade against you, especially the squishier enemies. Oh my god. I am lagging a little bit. Oh, please hit him. Thank you very much. And this, I think, makes him very versatile. I'm very much excited for this. He's probably one of the most exciting heroes I've been looking forward to for quite some time, just because of how versatile he plays. He's also one of the few heroes that can't really be built CP, like I said. The only CP build paths that I can ever see working for him are a Tension Bow Aftershock, which is like a hybrid build path, or maybe something to do with an alternating current, but I just don't think that they are going to be too viable, simply because he doesn't really have any CP scaling at all. So dive in. I'm going to dive in across like this. I'm going to dive through again. It's just ridiculous how much utility and damage this guy can do. And then I'm going to dive out like that. So I'm going to come back a little bit later into the game once my build path is worked up a little bit. And we're also going to be looking at how to use the joystick controls and talking about joystick controls in general. Okay, so you join me back a little bit later. I've got a couple of levels behind me. I also got a few more kills. We're going to be using the joystick control system. I've just overdriven my A, which is going to reduce the cooldown and increase the damage to 65% of my basic attack damage. And we're going to see how this works out in a team fight. Now, I actually like the way that the joystick UI is laid out. It actually looks pretty good. This is juicy. So what I'm going to do is actually going to set up for my ultimate, which is going to stun everybody. No, it's not, because I didn't use that. I'm trying to target specific carries here, and you can see when they're highlighted, and I'm just tapping the attack button, that is me just highlighted them. You can pretty much aim all your skill shots the same way that you would do in most other games. So you can see here, this is aiming my B on a specific target. This is aiming my A and giving me the ability to dash forward like this. This button here, the one that I'm tapping, that targets minions, this targets structures. This allows you to lock on to a specific target that you want to basic attack. So I want to lock onto this turret like this. So I'm lock onto this turret, and if I just spam it like this, and you can see I'm actually cancelling my basic attack animation. You can see me barely basic attacking because I'm cancelling my basic attack animation really easily. Look at this. I'm going to dive to the backline, and I'd like to target Varia. So you can see here, I'm going to dive to Varia. I've got her targeted. We're going to kill her. I'm going to dive back onto Lance. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to dive and target Jewel. I'm going to dive in, and there we go. It's really intuitive, and actually, I really like it. I do think that I prefer touch controls in general. I think they are more precise, and they allow you to set up, especially give you those fraction of a seconds that you wouldn't get otherwise when using your joystick controls. But this is a really intuitive way of making joystick controls work. As you can see, Celeste is almost dead here. I'm going to target Rhyme, and I'm going to dive in, and I'm going to kill him. So you just need to target them with this ability here. And you're going to dive in, kill him. I'm targeting Lance. It doesn't work with your abilities. You still have to aim your abilities. So when you target a carry, it doesn't mean that your abilities are going to automatically focus them. You still need to target them. But in general, this does make it more intuitive and easier for ranged carries to use this function as well. One of the problems that I always had with joystick controls, especially in AoV, is it was very difficult for ranged carries to specifically target. I'm going to actually just back out here. But what I want to do is set up my ultimate and actually get this done. So set up my ultimate. There we go. Stun straight to the back line. I got the Varia. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to use my... I'm going to just keep going. I don't really have much sustain here, but you can see that my shield is making me very difficult to take down. And I'm going to keep going, Quadra kill, please give this to me. There we go, the pentakill. And even without life sustain, I'm very difficult to take down. But I actually think that these joystick controls are really intuitive, and they fix one of the major problems that I had with them, which was the fact that you can't target the carry that you can't target the hero that you want to target when playing ranged carries with most joystick control systems. Come on, guys, finish the game. Okay, apparently not. I'm just going to generate some free fortified health here, as you can see. Going to dive to the back line. Going to start killing Celeste. Targeted her. Going to start killing Varia. Targeted her. Going to go onto Lance. I'm going to dive onto Jewel. And we're going to kill her. There we go. And we're going to win the game. I literally just started playing with these joystick controllers, and I think they are really intuitive. I do think that they will help small phone users. You can still use the tap controls. It's actually pretty simple. I can just switch to tap controls, and suddenly now I'm back to the tap layout. I can start using tap again. So you can actually switch between them in game depending on if you like a hero with a specific control scheme or you like a hero with a different control scheme. This is going to be much better for Vainglory in the overall market. I can see why people are upset, though, because they think that Vainglory is a different MOBA, but actually this control scheme is really unique, and I think generally one of the most well-done control schemes in terms of joysticks that I've actually ever used, and I think you guys definitely need to give it a go in 3.3. It's pretty insane. I still think tap controls are more precise, but I think this is a good way to get joystick onto a level where it can compare with tap controls in some way, so you don't feel like having someone that uses joystick on your team is going to drag you down. However, obviously there is still work to be done. I do really like the way that it feels, though. Just from playing from it then. I do love the target lock that you can get, so you can focus a target that you want to specifically focus. It's not going to be that easy against real people, obviously. I'm playing against bots, I made it look easy. But it's not going to be that easy versus real people. I think I have just bugged the game, though, so I'm going to... oh, no, finish. Didn't bug the game. And we're going to head out. The one last thing I want to show you before this video ends is look at this. This is new and this is sexy. My glory, get my sunlight, all comes up in a nice little post-match thing, and that shows you exactly what you've won. So that looks really cool. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, and I will see you very soon. So I'll be doing a 3.3 update note sort of overview tomorrow, because they've just been released, but I've released this video today, and if I release 2 videos on the same day, YouTube doesn't like me very much. But I'll probably create the video today and I'll upload it tomorrow morning, UK time, which means it'll be sort of late afternoon, evening for Southeast Asia, and late night for North America. Sorry that I've been away, guys. I've got a whole month off to relax and create videos now, so I should be back on the grind. Thank you so much for sticking with me if you have. I love all of you. See you soon.